Built in 1915 as Central's library, Evans Hall houses the Laboratory of History Museum. Each museum exhibit showcases artifacts, photos, and text panels that tell stories of the people and UCO's place in history. History professor Lucy Justin Hampton founded the museum in 1915. She also led the Central Historical Society that collected items for the museum. Hampton believed in connecting students to history through the use of historic objects. At the time, the museum's purpose was to teach history to students of the normal school. More than a century later, it remains open to the public and serves as the university's history museum. It is also a hands-on resource for students majoring in museum studies at UCO. The Territorial Normal School exhibits take us back in time to the early days of Edmond, including the founding of the town on April 22, 1889 during the land run, the pioneer citizens and leaders, and the establishment of the Normal School, which was an institution for the training of teachers. The first Oklahoma Territorial Legislature established the school in 1890, the first institution of higher learning in Oklahoma Territory. The first classes were held in the Methodist Episcopal Church on November 9, 1891. The following year, construction began on Old North, known today as one of the state's oldest buildings dedicated to higher education. Central's history is featured in all of these items, from Richard Thatcher's desk, the first principal of the Territorial School, to books, sporting memorabilia, and other relics of campus life. These are treasures preserved for generations to admire. A section of the museum showcases Native stories. For example, visitors learn about Chief Irontail of the Lakota Nation. These items reflect his life as a leader and a performer. Chief Irontail starred in Buffalo Bill's Wild West shows and other shows in Oklahoma. He was a model for photographers. His well-known profile is on the Indian head or buffalo nickel, and one of his headdresses is part of the museum's collection. The museum also takes us through wars and how they impacted our community and state. People may be surprised to learn that Civil War battles occurred in Oklahoma, known at the time as Indian Territory. Many of Edmond's early leaders fought in the Civil War. This Union uniform belonged to Lieutenant Ransom Young Hazard, an Edmond resident. UCO's first leader, Richard Thatcher, served as a drummer boy during the Civil War. He was captured by the Confederate Army and contracted tuberculosis while in prison. He survived with the help of a man named Boston Corbett. Corbett later made history for shooting and killing John Wilkes Booth, who assassinated President Abraham Lincoln. During World War I and World War II, the college campus and students helped in the war effort. Old North turned into barracks during World War I, with the Student Army Training Corps unit established. Company B, a female unit, formed with the women drilling on campus, ready to serve if needed. People continued to make sacrifices during World War II. Thatcher Hall became barracks, and training exercises were held for the armed forces. The story behind the wedding dress illustrates the scarcities of the time. The dress was worn by 7 different brides during World War II. Here at home, including on campus, people planted victory gardens to grow their own food. The museum has a vast collection of items from the battlefield. Some interesting items include Hitler's Mein Kampf and a letter written on Hitler's stationery. A Central alumnus and Army veteran, Brian Watkins, donated these items he gathered during a raid of Hitler's apartment in Munich. The Cold War transformed the campus, and the curriculum evolved to reflect the times. These artifacts give us a snapshot of those years. Every museum item tells a story. The people, the culture, the traditions shape history then and now.